Welcome back to the Goonerverse podcast, everyone. Why am I so happy? We're second. We're second in the table, Sheroy.
We're always happy when we record this one, though. I don't think we've ever actually started a pod looking miserable. You know that. I can't think of one where we've both just been like, "Hi, we're back." We do all right in that sense.
You know, Turkish just like doesn't. You know, when he doesn't bother with how's it going, people. You know, it's bad. Right? Things have really gone bad. We don't even have a version of that. I think I'm just so happy to see you. And yeah. Oh, and listen, everyone who's tuning in, we have a special guest who'll be joining us in a couple minutes. Newcastle fan. We will go into all that very, very soon. So I'm going to preview Newcastle. A little spoiler for the rest of the pod. We're going to look at what our best 11 is. Has Arteta found it? What are we expecting for the next 5 games? Maybe Sheroy and I should shut up. Every time we go and predict these, we get them massively wrong. But hey, we said we were going to drop some points, didn't we? So I guess we got that right. But there we go. But sure, you're all well, though. Everything's okay. Everything's all good in life. I mean, there's bigger things in life than football.
I keep saying it. Life is great. Life is really, really good. I'm super blessed. But with the Arsenal, I'm sort of fluctuating now after that City loss. I mean, there have been a few people in the comments that have reminded me that I predicted us to go and win there, and I'm more than man enough to say I was wrong. I know you got the score correct, but you know what? Sometimes I feel, we had to win. It's done. And then at another point in the day, I'm like, oh, actually, the fixtures look okay. Maybe we'll do something. Maybe it's not over. And I'm just constantly toing and throwing. And everyone, the guys that I bump into at the gym that I keep telling you about, right? That all year they've been saying, we'll talk in May. But now they want to come up to me and say that we're second. So I'm just throwing it back at them. Maybe I'm kicking the can down the road a bit. I don't know. But I'm just saying, hey, we'll talk in May. We'll talk in May. Just buy myself a bit more time, bro.
Everyone picks the arguments that suit them when it suits. Well, when it suits them best is what I'm trying to say. You know, there's been a lot of people online on Twitter tonight at the time of recording aren't happy with me because of something I said about Arteta and his messaging. But 2 weeks ago, I went viral for saying the exact same thing. 800,000 views on someone's post. Because people agreed with me. But because after Bournemouth, what I was saying, the exact same thing, people felt it. But now they feel more encouraged after City. They don't feel it. And like so much of it is timing. So much of it is, you know, how we feel about Arsenal. Like I said in my Goonerverse News reaction to Man City's result, it's about expectation too. I thought they were going to batter Burnley. I thought they were going to batter Burnley like 4-0 minimum. Like they're already gone. It's pretty much done. Whatever. It was 1-0. And having been so distraught that we've let this first place slip, and yet we still went second, a little part of me went, level on goal difference.
Exactly.
I thought it would be worse. And it's all about expectation. It's all about the timing of the arguments and the debates and all that. And people just, it's so often about the time and the moment and all that. But we'll get into some of that stuff. I would like to talk about some of the things that have gone viral, some of the things that people have been kind of really hotly debating online. I think we should go into that. Havertz, Gyökeres, all this stuff. We'll definitely do that. Before we do, I want to tell you about our amazing sponsor for today's podcast, Brevo. But now, what is Brevo? It's an all-in-one marketing and sales platform designed to help businesses grow through smarter customer relationships. So it combines things like email marketing, SMS, chat, CRM, and marketing automation in one affordable tool, making it perfect for businesses that want to have powerful features without enterprise level complexity or pricing. That's the important thing. Now, take a little look at this, because you can see that some of the features they have involve things like email marketing. So you can design professional campaigns with drag and drop editors, customizable templates, and advanced segmentation. You can see there the variation, the templates you can pick from, and the amount of customization you get is really, really cool. And you can make it the way you want to do it. But included with that, there's also SMS marketing. So you can reach customers directly on their phones with text campaigns. You can have live chat with customers, so you can connect with website visitors in real time, or have and set up automated responses. You got transactional emails and SMS. You can send order confirmations, password resets, and other critical messages. And that's just some of the features I mentioned, all in one solution, which eliminates the need for multiple tools and multiple subscriptions. You can get this by redeeming the code Goonerverse50. You see it there on your screen, and to save 50% on Brevo starter and standard plans for the first 3 months. And you can find this by clicking the link in the description below here on YouTube or on podcast platforms. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll also see the QR code there, so you can scan that too. Big thanks to Brevo. All right, back to the podcast. Now, before we go into some of the other stuff I mentioned, like I said, we're going to look ahead to Newcastle. It's this weekend. We play 2 home games before Man City play an away game at Everton on a Monday night. Nothing's done, but nothing is written, nothing is given, but there is opportunity. But let's focus on Newcastle first. And to discuss it, we welcome Mr. Jack Cunningham, good friend of mine. We'll tell everyone about how we know each other. But Jack, welcome to the Goonerverse. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much for having me on. Really, really appreciate it. And Sheroy, nice to meet you as well.
Pleasure to meet you too, my bro. I mean, let's see if you feel the same way after we're done talking about this fixture. I hope you do.
I'm sure I will.
Jack, man, firstly, you're the first rival fan we've had to join us for some kind of preview discussion. So big thank you for that. Unless I've forgotten anyone, but we don't think we've ever done this before, not on the podcast. So a big thank you for joining us. Secondly, we studied together, like we did sports journalism together. So we go way back. And, you're now working at Talk Sport. You're co-host of Inside the Toon. So big congrats to you. Anyone who's a Newcastle fan or wanting to tune into what's going on around the Premier League. Because I consume more other club content than Arsenal content at the moment because, I work in Arsenal content. I'm having the conversation. So in my downtime, I was just listening to Matisse and Rory do a brilliant breakdown on Blueco and Clear Lake and everything going wrong at Chelsea. And it's fascinating, man. I'm learning. So anyway, for anyone who's wanting to tune into other club content, I think there are some majorly, shall I say, fascinating stories developing at Newcastle. I think that's what we want to get into, Jack, because I think there's a really weird, almost parallel between our clubs right now. Yes, you're 13th, are you?
14th, yeah.
14th. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. That's all right. It's worse than you thought it was. All right.
And yes, we're challenging for the title and things are looking good in the Champions League, whatnot. But I think there's this weird feeling, maybe from outside fans and some internal too, that we should both be grateful for what our managers have done, that before them we weren't at a certain level, because of them to a degree we are now, and stop complaining, stop moaning, it happens, you should be grateful. And it's weird how I think we can both feel that way. I mean, Eddie Howe's got a Carabao Cup, and let's not forget Arteta's FA Cup all those years ago, but part of a different time for Arsenal. I want to get your take on that. How do you feel about Eddie Howe, and how do you feel about the idea that, like, we should kind of just be grateful for where we are? It's a weird thing for me.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I think we'll go with Eddie Howe first. It feels like the end, or I think it should be the end now. And I say that with no pleasure, or it's actually really, really sad. And I've been Eddie Howe in all year, but it was the Palace game, actually, weirdly. Forget the defeats to Sunderland, forget sort of 8 defeats in 11 overall, whatever it is in the second half of the season. It was this Palace game because we had 3 weeks off from losing the Townway derby. Yes, there was an international break in between, so there was obviously players away, but then a lot of them weren't, and then a lot of them came back. So I was like, right, I want to see something fresh, something new. You've been working with the players, because that's one thing Eddie Howe always complains about. Always says, I've not had training time. And we have seen in his 2 seasons where we haven't had Europe, we finished 4th and 5th. So clearly the training time does help. So I want to see something new. We had 3 shots all game. We scored a goal. We took the lead. And then we conceded a pretty hopeless goal at the end when Palace made their 3 changes. There was no reaction from our bench at all until it was too late. And then we give away a penalty. They score 25 points from drop from winning positions. 25 points drop from winning positions. If we had half of those, we'd be 2 points behind Liverpool. That is at ridiculous levels of weak mentality. We've conceded more goals in the last 15 minutes than any other team in the Premier League. And essentially, it feels like it's time at the end of Bournemouth, where it's just sort of over. I'm just watching, players aren't performing. It's the same tactics. Look, if you give Newcastle the ball, we cannot do anything with it. We lose every game we have more possession. Basically, every game we have more possession, we will lose. The games that we've actually won recently against Chelsea and Manchester United, and we actually played really well against Barcelona in the first leg and the first half. We won't talk about the second half. So, and they're the games where we have less of the ball, because that's what Eddie Howe teams thrive on. Out of possession, pressing high up the field, squeezing up. When it comes to actually technically trying to break a team down, nah. Can't do it.
And this is really interesting because it's always those kinds of stats, what you just said, the 25 points from winning positions. And actually the kind of the minor detail in how these things that, you give Newcastle the ball, nothing happens. The most goals conceded after the 75th minute. It's those kind of stats. Like when Arsenal fans moan, they don't, and it's not all of them. Some will be watching going, I don't moan, James. That's fine. You don't. Some do. A lot are at the moment. We're not going, oh no, we lost a final. Oh no, we're in the Champions League semi-finals, but I don't think we'll do well. Oh no, we're top of the league, but we should be more top of the league. That's not what we're complaining about. We're complaining about our open play XG being something like 6th in the league. We're complaining about our open XG at home to Bournemouth being 0.07 or something. Like that's what it's always those. It's always in the depths of the detail that you go, no, but that's the problem. And it has been for so long. Now, you touched on something really interesting, like Eddie Howe, when you haven't had Champions League football and it's kind of been all focused on the league, whatever, he's developed mammoth seasons for you guys. Delivered, mammoth seasons. 2 top 4 finishes, a Carabao Cup final, a Carabao Cup final, and a Carabao Cup win. I think you didn't disgrace yourselves against Barcelona. I know the second half was bad, but you were incredibly competitive in that. So
for 3 halves,
and you've had, yeah, exactly. And you've had big wins, even with 10 men against Man United recently. But I just find that really interesting what you're saying about when you scratch beneath the surface. That's why, like, us fans shouldn't just go, well, you should be more grateful. All right, you've had a bad year. It happens. There's kind of more to it. I mean, Sheroy, what's your take on it? Because it's funny because I'm the same as Jack. Jack said something really interesting there. He said, it brings me no pleasure to say this. And it's like people think, we take any pleasure in saying, if Arteta doesn't win, maybe we should explore something else. I don't like this. I don't want that. No one wants this. But it's just interesting that people kind of think you're doing it from a position of like, of anger and sort of like it doesn't bother you as well to say it as much as, people think you take pleasure out of suggesting those things. I'm waffling on now, but Sheroy, what's your take on it?
Yeah, look, a lot of people think that anyone that comes out and speaks in support of a manager, for some reason, cares about the manager more than they care about the success of the football club in many ways, right? Which is why the label Arteta sexual gets labelled, I think, both of us, James, right? That's why we
not
get
anymore. I've fully lost it, apparently. No, I've gone the other way. Apparently, I'm Arteta out.
I still get it, right? But I'm yet to actually meet a fan in person that ever places any sort of sentiment for a manager ahead of the club. Now, what Jack said was interesting, and I don't want to speak too much because people listen to me all the time. I kind of want to get Jack's perspective on this. You began by saying, I feel like it's the end for Eddie Howe. And I want to delve into why you think it's the end for Eddie Howe. What is it that makes you feel as though it's the end? Because James says that there's parallels. We both have managers that started with a lot of promise, connected with the fan base to some extent. There was tangible improvement. There was recruitment that we could get behind for a number of seasons, right? I know you guys nabbed a couple of players that we were interested in and we'd probably still take, frankly.
Yeah.
What is it that makes you think it's the end? Is it the fact that you don't think he's getting anything out of the players anymore? Do you think that he's gone stale? And I guess the broader question, Jack, is, do you think, regardless of how good or how bad you are, managers have a half-life? Like there is only so long that you can remain at a club until things ultimately do need to change.
Yeah, really, really, really interesting points. I think it's just been clear aggression. And you mentioned going stale. It feels like he's run out of ideas, especially in the attacking sense. But one of the key things is we've gone soft. Now, I want to go back to 22-23, when Newcastle played Arsenal at the Emirates in a 0-0 draw. And the ball was in play for about 30 minutes.
I remember.
And Newcastle were horrible because that was an
I
Arsenal player.
I actually think I watched that with James on a live watch along. I think I remember being sat on the same sofa as James watching that. But anyway, carry on.
No. It was horrible. And Arsenal fans afterwards were slating us, ripping into us. And I loved it because I was like, that is nasty. That's nasty. That's what we are. We've gone so soft. We can see from absolutely nothing. Another problem, I think another thing is like Newcastle relied on their physicality. So if you go back to that team, the back four was Trippier, Chair, Botman and Byrne. So you've got 3 lads there who are over 6'4". The midfield was Joe Linton, Bruno and Longstaff. That's all over 6 foot. You got Isak, you got Callum Wilson. Big lads. Obviously there was technical ability in there as well, of course, but big lads mainly. Now the Premier League's caught up physically, but we don't have the technical ability to break down a team who are going to have a low block. So there was a game we played against Wolves earlier this season. We could have been playing till now and wouldn't have scored. We just got the ball out wide, swung across in, cleared. Swung across in, cleared. There was just no invention around the box. And our one player who's got, there's obviously a few players who, Bruno is obviously outstanding. You can't rely on him on doing everything. Waldemar clearly a technically brilliant footballer who can unlock the door. I totally believe that. And Eddie Howe has no idea what to do with him. He's put him in the left-hand side of midfield. It's like, it was painful watching him there because he's trying his best, but he's not a sort of Joe Linton profile of player. He's not going to be able to do a Joe Linton transformation. And I think another thing is the squad. You know, we're getting to the point where I need like 10 or 11 to leave. And it's not like a get out the club. It's like, thank you so much for everything you've done. You are legends.
So similar. It sounds so
you
similar.
are legends. Yeah. No. You are legends at this football club. Like, but the regression is so clear now, and it needs this summer. It looks increasingly like Howe is going to stay, although that's at the moment. I think if Newcastle don't win a single other game this season, so we're talking it's potentially 13 defeats in 16 by the end of the year, right? If we lose our next 5, which is not beyond the realms of possibility. How can he stay then? That is what, nearly half a season, and you lose 13 games of that. Yeah. You can't stay. So at the moment he's staying. No matter what, total rebuild needed in the summer. And again, it's not, don't hate these players. I love them. It's just time. I'm a Newcastle fan. I'm not a Nick Pope fan. I'm not a Jacob Murphy fan. I'm not a Dan Burn fan. I'm a Newcastle fan. I want what's best for my club.
It's incredible. Sure, you were saying it yourself. It's incredible how much of it like feels like things I've said. You know, if it goes a certain way, I think we're ready to move on. It's not that we hate anyone. It's not that we don't think anyone's good. It's not that we don't think they've delivered to a degree. It's that there's another level. And what do we do this for? To keep improving. That's just a thing of life. Ramsdale was good, but Raya was better. Why can't we have that ruthlessness just run through the club? And, you know, what you were saying there, Jack, I think, look, I relate to it. I think a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people will be in the comments saying, how dare you, James, compare us to Newcastle? But I think the stories, they align in a certain way, and they're very different. You know, you could argue Eddie Howe did achieve what he was set to achieve at Newcastle: win a trophy, get into the Champions League. He did it twice. You could argue Arteta hasn't yet achieved, or you could say Arteta got us to a level, and that final step is the hardest bit. You can look at it however you want, but I always find it so interesting, especially to get your take on this as well. Going into the game this weekend, some things that stood out. You said that the technical level isn't there, but at the same time, if we give you the ball, you don't know what to do with it. You also concede quite late in games. When you take the lead, you tend to throw it away as well. It's kind of like, on the one hand, it sounds like perfect. Arsenal have also been a bit ugly to watch. Have the ball. And if we go 1-0 behind, well, this is the perfect team to do it against. But the other part of me feels that we need to kick on now. Like, and Jack, you know, please don't take this the wrong way. I know Newcastle, there's probably no tougher foe for us over the last few years in terms of how difficult it's been to score goals against you guys. But I don't just want to win. Like, we need goals. I mean, that's the requirement now. That's where we are in this race with City. You know, if someone offered me 1-0 now, I don't think I'd take it, which is crazy because we are absolutely capable of losing the game. We're absolutely capable of losing or drawing this game. But I think there's this sense of we need to start getting a little bit of swagger in our play. We need to start getting some goals. How would you, as a Newcastle fan, it's weird to ask you this, how do you think Arsenal should be approaching this? You know, you've seen your weaknesses. What is the best way to get at you guys?
You get someone in behind the flat midfield 3 that never changes. So in our possession, we set in a 4-5-1, and the three midfielders stand in a line. And even Burnley were getting men in behind us. We're getting men in behind us and causing us problems. And I'm watching it, and nothing changes. I'm like, just drop one of them deeper or change something. No,
4-1-4-1. Yeah.
4-5-1. Drop my man. Man runs up. So Eze is going to be in behind probably about 10 times. Honestly, he's going to get so much space. Look, if you wanted, I know that some Arsenal fans probably saw this fixture and a bit worried. I can promise you now, do not be worried. You will win this game, and you will win this game comfortably. And by the way, James, you know me, I'm actually very positive about Newcastle. Usually,
no. Jack's a super fan. Like and also Jack will give it. He'll be like, Voltemada should have got him better than Gyökeres. Like, you know, you'll give it. But so to hear you speaking like this, so people don't know you, like, things must be dark for you to be this pessimistic about Newcastle.
Yeah, I've got eyes. I'm seeing what I'm seeing on the pitch. I know I've got glasses, but I've got eyes, right? I'm seeing what I'm seeing on the pitch, and it is dross. It's absolute dross. In fact, I said on Inside the Tune at the moment, I think we're the worst team in the Premier League at the moment. And that's discounting Chelsea and Spurs because it's so lifeless. It's so there's just nothing there. And the goal, the second goal we conceded against Bournemouth on Saturday was an absolute disgrace. Murphy is meant to be tracking Truefair, and Truefair's in front of him the entire time, and then Ivan Nielsen beat Byrne and Botman in the air to knock it down for Truefair, who's unmarked in the box. And when the goal goes in, Trippier, who's leaving at the end of the year, is the only one who had any reaction. The rest of them all just sort of walk back to the halfway line. It has gone so badly wrong this season. It's gone terribly wrong. And genuinely, we keep saying, oh, there's got to be a reaction at some point. There's been no reaction, and we've lost 3 games in a row to Sunderland, Palace and Bournemouth. And by the way, Bournemouth played very well against you. They didn't even have to play well against us to win. They didn't. Like when Asula scored, everyone thought we'd lose.
Do you think there's anything to look? I mean, no disrespect to the teams that you just named, right? But I also heard you say that you had pretty decent performances against Barcelona, and I agree. I was speaking to James about this when I think we recorded the night that you conceded however many it was in the second leg, and I said they actually looked 7 good in the first half. Well, I remembered. I just didn't want to say it. I was being nice. I was being nice. But yeah, I said, look, they look pretty good in the first half. Is there any reason for us to worry that Saturday night, evening game against Arsenal, everyone's watching, Newcastle for this might want to react? Do they play for a particular type of occasion? Whereas when it's Bournemouth, when it's Palace, well, actually Sunderland I can't use because I know that's a heated occasion for Newcastle. Yeah, but for those sorts of teams, they don't necessarily get up. But for a game like this, they might.
But if you're not getting off for Sunderland as a Newcastle player, that's an absolute disgrace. I watched that for years. Under the Mike Ashley era. We had player-for-player better players. We just never turned up for the derbies. Now Newcastle have got players who are better, but they do care about the club. Like Bruno Guimaraes is basically a Geordie. Joe Linton is basically a Geordie. We've got Lewis Miley. We've got players who have to thank Eddie Howe for their career. And we're losing at home to Sunderland, and it's just not good enough. We lost twice to Sunderland this year, and I think the way there's different. Stadium Light's a very hard place to go, but Sunderland turned up not wanting to lose. They turned up not wanting to lose, and when we were 1-0 up, they were trying to waste time still because they didn't want to get battered. But then they realised actually these aren't that good. I can't see us getting up for it. I can't see any of them getting up for it because I think they all think the season's done. A lot of them think they're leaving in the summer anyway. You know, your Tonali's, your Gordon's. Gordon's not going to play this weekend. I'd be surprised if he plays again for Newcastle. I think that's him gone.
And that really is just because his head's been turned. That's ultimately why he's been dropped.
Well, no, he's got a hip injury. I don't know.
Is that a hip injury? Or is that...
Yeah, that's a hip injury. Yeah. Isak had a hip injury.
Yeah.
In pre-season training. Look, I don't know. I don't want to say that, but still, it does feel like some players' commitment's just not there anymore. And it is just, a squad just, I don't know, like Pep Guardiola's, Sir Alex Ferguson's, their squads all reach the end of their cycle. This squad's reached the end of its cycle, and they're just coasting to the end now.
So okay, I mean, in terms, okay, so look, I can't say that you haven't already made me feel better than I did when we started this pod, listening to all of that. I just want to talk about our personnel in terms of what you wouldn't want to see now, right? Because there's been a lot of talk about how you're saying, give us the ball and we don't know what to do with it. We have rotations when it comes to our front line. You've already mentioned that Ezza's going to have a lot of space. Do you think it would hurt you more if we had Ødegaard and Ezza on the ball? Do you think we should be starting them, or do you think we should perhaps at the wide end have slightly more direct players in terms of a Martinelli and a Madueke that he has liked before? I.e., we'll give you the ball, but we'll smash you on the break instead. What do you think would be more lethal?
I do not rate Martinelli at all. So okay. Ezra on the left,
right?
Yes, that should. By the way, if I want to talk about Arsenal for a little bit,
yeah,
that should have been happening. That should have been happening all season. Ezra on the left that's where he thrives. If you look at the Palace, right, he played it like the left-sided 10, right? Oh my God, he caused havoc. If he was on the left, Arsenal would have won the league already because Trossard has been a great signing for Arsenal. Scores goals this season. He's clearly just done. He's just done. Certainly for what Arsenal want, right? He's done. I've never rated Martinelli. He's just a road runner, right? He's the least Brazilian. So apart from maybe Joe Linton, actually, but still. So Ezra on the left. That is, I don't know why he's not been doing that all season. That causes havoc. And then on the right, Madueke against Hall. I'm not. Nah, Lewis Hall will lock him up. Lewis Hall's locked up Lamine Yamal. Lewis Hall's locked up Bukayo Saka numerous times. I'm not worried about Madueke against Lewis Hall. But
if we started Max Damon instead,
no, Hall. Honestly, I rate Hall so highly. So I think Hall can deal with anyone. But you're gonna get joy in behind that midfield. I think Ezra calls all sorts of havoc. If you do Odegaard and Ezra, that's probably the way to go. I think because again, Joe Litton's banned as well for 2 matches, so he's not going to play. This is a game I would have played Joe Litton in because he's actually perfect for a team. He's perfect for games where we've got less of the ball. He's absolutely hopeless, and again, we've got possession. Hopeless when we've got possession, but he's brilliant when we've got less. So yeah.
Jack, I mean, I say this with all the respect in the world. I mean, obviously you've joined Jason Cundy and Jamie and Har on the sports bar, so you're no stranger to discussing football outside of your team. But I mean, the fact that a Newcastle fan is saying what we've been saying about Eze on the left, like it should have been happening. And I know, listen, there's plenty of videos out there where I'm going, maybe Eze in the 10 for this, but it's because he let Waneri go on loan and wouldn't play him. I appreciate Odegaard had injury issues, and Trossard at one point, to be fair, I slightly disagree with you, Jack, because up to December he was having a good season, but he's absolutely fallen off since. Yeah. But even when Odegaard got injured, okay, away at Newcastle, Eze in the 10 worked. It was really good. But it should be Waneri coming in for Odegaard, Eze off the left, dual 10s, take that creative responsibility away from Saka, away from Gyökeres, away from Havertz, who's only really got fit in the last few months. Let Calafiori bomb up and down that left channel. It just made sense. And the fact that it's taken so long, when Arteta went with that 11 pre-City, we all went, oh, we have a chance. And, Sheroy, you were kind of being a bit harsh on yourself when you said, oh, I know I predicted we'd win, but we lost. Okay, but no one predicted we played that well in the week running up to it. We had a really good game. And, because we are capable of it. But it took for Arteta to kind of finally land on that. And it's just so interesting that Jack's saying it. So I agree. I want to see Eze. Final question for you, Jack, before we let you go.
Go for it.
A rival's opinion. Like I know, everyone sings the whole second again, ole ole, and everyone's having fun with it. And we know the social media landscape and the fan banter landscape of it all. But genuinely, your honest thoughts on Arteta, if he doesn't win something this year, if he does, like I just want your general thoughts on Arsenal, this group. Like, is Arteta overachieving with this group? Is the group way better and he's letting us down? I'd love to know how you feel about the football, about the club in general. Just what's your take?
So I think the title's going to go down to goal difference. Actually, I do. I had a look at the fixtures. I think it's going to go down to goal difference. The fact it's even going to go down to goal difference, even if you win, is appalling from Arteta. Arsenal should have had this league sewn up already. They've had so many opportunities to put it to bed. Manchester City only just discovered their best 11 a couple of weeks ago. It is clicking now. Guardiola before that was struggling. He had no real idea who he wanted in all the positions. He's found it. They're going to probably not lose until the end of the season. I think they'll drop points. I think you'll drop points as well. And I think they're going to have goal difference. The fact it's even going to goal difference genuinely is a disgrace. I don't know how he's let this happen. And he's had so many opportunities to just put games to bed. Be more aggressive. It's like it's kind of like try to win the league by just, right, we've just got a big squad and we'll just hope for the best. But then he runs Zubameni at the ground. He runs Ewan Timber into the ground. The amount of minutes they've played, Bukayo Saka, the amount of minutes they've played is mental. And then it doesn't help when he's saying this stuff like bring your lunch and your dinner. And then you end up wasting more time than Bournemouth do throughout the entire game. You were never in the lead at any point. I don't understand what the fans are meant to do about that, to be honest. Because I thought the Emirates, the atmosphere at the start was really good. And then you've got Raya stand on the ball for however long you stand on the ball for. They couldn't get out. You're going to get nervous then. You're seeing all this like propaganda stuff, and then there's nothing on the pitch to follow it up. I feel like if you don't win the title, it is on Arteta and not on the players. It is on Arteta, and he should leave. If you don't win anything this season, that has got to be him gone. Because I know I'm not going to say there was. I don't think many Arsenal fans will talk about the quadruple, but there was a chance of it, and then in the end, it could turn into nothing. It's on Arteta.
Jack, I mean, I think everyone's learned. You're unfiltered and you say it as it is, and fair play to you, mate. Everyone can find you on Inside the Toon. I'll make sure to put your social media details as well in the description below. But listen, some really good insight on Newcastle. I mean, I knew from a distance things weren't great. I didn't realize it was this bad. And for everyone saying, "Oh, he's being so harsh on Arsenal," listen to what he said about Newcastle. Okay, like you're consistent, and we'll give you that. I think these are both two teams that would have had. It's weird. Newcastle would have had higher expectations for what they've achieved. Arsenal are weirdly achieving those expectations, but in no way, shape, or form in the way we hoped we would. So it's left frustration, but plenty to play for. And I'm really hoping that, I don't wholly disagree with everything you've said. Some bits I'm a bit like, oh, I wouldn't say it that way, but I hope you're wrong, and I hope I'm wrong for everything I've said, because I've been very critical recently. And we'll see. But Jack, big thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us.
Oh, mate, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. You made me feel a lot better about the game, but then your ending monologue made me feel shit again. So thank you for taking me there and then bringing me straight back down.
The balance, isn't it? It's the balance,
Yeah.
All right, see you later. Cheers, lads.
Pleasure, mate. Catch you in a bit. Great to chat to Jack. Yeah, man. And you know what? Like, says as it is. Would love your thoughts, Sheroy, on what he said towards the end there. Like, thing is, I don't disagree with anything. I have to sometimes, like, we've got a semi-final. We've got a we now have to go toe to toe. I mean, I just did a video on the Goonerverse titled what was it called? This 11 gives us a chance. And basically what I was trying to say was like, we can't keep crying about it. We can't keep, I thought they'd smash Burnley. They didn't. So it's a shootout. Your best five versus our best five. We have to embrace it, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how there's a prospect of it coming down to goal difference. So the assignment is to now score loads of goals. I'm not quite there yet, because I still think. I mean, look, if you gave me 5-1-0s now, I'd probably take them because I think that wins us the league. I've said it.
I know. It's so true. I don't know.
I've said it all along that I don't think City are going to be getting maximum points from these remaining games. And I keep looking at their fixtures. I look at the performance last night. I look at the fact that Rodri wasn't there, and I sit there and I think they've got at least a draw in them. Now I know it's risky. I know it's risky, but is it more risky than opening up when you haven't opened up all year, getting it wrong and risking dropping points yourselves? I personally think that when I'm balancing it, you give me 5-1-0s now, I think we win the league. That's where my money is right now. Go on.
Can I do some like serious mental gymnastics?
Do it.
This is Olympic level stuff, right? Are you ready?
Go on.
I said I wouldn't take a 1-0 against Newcastle. And after hearing Jack, I mean, even now I'm like, well, come on, let's go. But I mean, let's not underestimate how bad our form's been. I think it's because we have 2 home games before Everton. I don't want them to go into that game going, yeah, I mean, Arsenal won 2-1, 1-0. I mean, they got the 6 points, but we got 2 games in hand, and let's just get the job done against Everton. I want them to go, they just got 6 points and they put 5 goals on the board. Like, I know even that is like what you think Arsenal can win 2-0 and 3-0. Well, they're capable of it. I don't think we will necessarily, but we're capable of it. And there's just this part of me that's like, send that message, because then they don't just have to win at Everton, but they could win 1-0 and then win their second game and be behind us. They could be top, have done everything right, and be behind us. And I kind of want to try and set that sort of momentum a little bit, Sheroy. But am I dreaming? Am I asking for too much? I probably am.
I'm gonna see your mental gymnastics and raise you with some more mental gymnastics.
Okay, we love it.
Every time people talk about Manchester City and their mentality, but when they have to win, when their backs are against the walls, when they're in a situation that other people would describe as pressure, they do it and they turn up on the day. What you've just described, us winning our next 2 and doing it by sending a message, puts that pressure on them to the extent that I think that they'd be even more up for a game like that. I think if they're looking at us and they don't quite rate us and they think that they're comfortable, you might see something slightly more akin to what you saw against Burnley last night. Something where actually it could have been put to bed, but it wasn't. Again, I know it's mental gymnastics, but I think that a hint of complacency can sneak into this Manchester City team at times in game. I think the chances of that are increased if they don't quite rate us and they don't quite worry about us. So,
I mean, that's we have
again,
had
it's
we've
ridiculous that we're having
backflipped.
this
We've done it
conversation.
all here.
Yeah, I know. But all of that, that's me responding to your point. But my initial
I hear it.
My initial point is still, and I firmly believe this, that big if, even if we win all our games by a narrow margin, I think we're lifting that trophy at the end of the year.
Okay, and so what's the 11 to do it? I mean, we touched on it there, Eze on the left, and as I was talking to Jack there, I was sort of thinking, wait, do I really mean this? Like, I know I did videos saying go Eze and Havertz as a front two, Eze behind Gyökeres was when we had our best form. Can you go Eze and Ødegaard in central midfield with Rice? I'd like to see that. I know I've said all these things. I'm obviously reacting to the injuries at the time, the certain fixtures that are coming, whatever. But I've always maintained that our best 11 was either having Eze off the left, tucking inside, and you have him and Ødegaard, or it was getting Eze and Saka closer to. The point is, we needed a two behind the central player. So the first thing is that the way you'd go? Like, has Arteta found his 11 now? Let's assume Saka, Calafiori, Timber all return. Is that our best 11?
Yeah, and when people say Eze on the left, very often it's met with, but Eze's not a left winger. I think Eze on the left
touchline winger.
But I think Eze on the left is slightly too rudimentary. Even if you look at the City game, for example, it was Eze left central, and very often Piero Nkapie was left on his own on the left-hand side, basically as the left winger in attack, right? It was very, very brave, and he can do that because he's mobile, he can bomb up and down. But when it comes to what he can actually do with the ball at his feet in the attacking third, aside from the odd good cross, he's relatively limited. I think that if you have Calafiori there, but you also have Eze left central, suddenly you're deadly on that flank. And that's even more important if Timber and Saka aren't fit, because the right-hand side is desperately imbalanced at the moment, right? We're lacking defensive solidity and attacking prowess on the right-hand side, so we really do need to get the left-hand side right. That's a long way of me saying, Eze and Ødegaard both have to start to unlock this. And a lot of people are saying, but you just said you don't need to go and score bare goals. Why are you starting them? It's not, for me, that's not just the formula for scoring loads of goals. That is the team that's most likely to get us to win games, right? You're listening to an opposing fan now talking about, look, if you just get someone in those half spaces behind the midfield, we're done. That's exactly what Eze and Ødegaard can do. Eze, I think this season has looked more comfortable than Ødegaard doing it, but they both can do it. Calafiori can do it too. Those three in isolation could probably do it, and I think we'll come on to it later. But then it also bears the discussion about, are you looking at Havertz or Gyökeres if you have those three on the pitch? For me personally, I mean, I'm going to try and use slightly different language to the language that Jordan used on Loose Cannons. But for me, with those two, it's much of a muchness to an extent. But the question for me is, do you want someone who's going to be better at creating, fashioning, manufacturing chances? Or if a chance falls to someone, who do you want it to be? And I think with those creative players around and the ability to open up defenses with those guys on the pitch, I don't think we've seen all of them on the pitch with Gyökeres anywhere near enough this season. I think if it's just ball at feet, who's going to put it in the back of the net, I'm still going Gyökeres in that situation.
So who would you start up front then? Because that was going to be my follow-up question. Is then
if we're going Calafiori, Eze and Ødegaard in the same team?
Calafiori, a left back, Eze on the left, Ødegaard in the 10, and even Saka starting, Yeah,
I'm starting Gyökeres in that situation because
Wow.
I back. Look, again, this isn't me saying, oh my God, he's head and shoulders above Havertz, man. Why are you not even having this discussion? That's not the way that I'm framing it. I'm talking about, if I had to put money on someone to put the ball in the back of the net when a chance falls to them, maybe it's recency bias because of what I've just seen from Havertz. People will say, look at the goal that he took against Sporting, for example. I understand that. But when it comes to those, there are just far too many moments that are akin to what I saw against Manchester City. And I don't think I've seen that from Gyökeres yet. And I remember on Loose Cannons when you had Hugh Izzy on there and he was adamant that Gyökeres was the best finisher at the club. And I still can't quite get my head around or forget about some of the finishes that I saw before he came to Arsenal, and indeed some of the finishes that I've seen at Arsenal. I think he's yet to be unlocked properly. And the 11 that you just discussed, or at least the attacking line that you just discussed, for me, is the most likely to do it.
I mean, the thing is, though, I hear what you're saying about Gyökeres, but for me, I've gone in hard on Havertz for the misses against Man City, but it's not just the misses against Man City; it's the misses across several big games. I mean, even Bournemouth the week before, he heads it over the bar when he was under the bar. So many cup games like Liverpool at home, Man United, Newcastle, so many cup exits when we played well enough, but he's missed the big chances. So I think Rohan described him as, because Rohan's a big fan of Havertz, Rohan from TDK Plus, but he also said something which is so true. He said, like, he's always at the scene of the crime, and he is. I mean, it's a really good point. But I do, for all I don't think Havertz is as good a passer as people say, link man, dribbler, hold up. I don't think any of that is as good as people say it is. However, I do think Arsenal do more in terms of dominating a game of football, controlling it in the area of the pitch we want to be playing, and just having a bit more creativity and having a bit more solutions to a deep block. I weirdly think we have that more with Havertz. What I think we have with Gyökeres is someone who, if that space opens up, he'll attack it with so much drive and he'll go for it. I think we saw that against Tottenham. They were so open, they're a mess, and he just attacked it time and time again. But I think with Havertz, you've got someone who, look at that chance. And look, I've berated him for the chance he missed at the end against City, the header. But he is someone you can whip the ball into the box to. I don't think Gyökeres is. I don't think you can put it into the box and go, Gyökeres is going to attack this. I think unless you've literally put it on his head and he's unchallenged, I don't actually think he gets to an aerial ball like that. Aerial ball, cross. I'm trying to sound too fucking clever. And that does make me lean towards Kai Havertz. I'll be honest, like it does. And I don't rate Kai Havertz. But here we are.
When you're talking about, ultimately you're saying that we look slightly more creative with Havertz on the pitch. That's basically what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
If we don't look creative, particularly given the way that Newcastle were just described by a Newcastle fan, if we don't look creative with Calafiori, Eze, Erdegaard, and you're saying potentially Saka or maybe Dalman, if we don't look creative with them, I won't be blaming Victor Gyökeres in that situation. I don't think he will be the problem. Which is why I'm sat there saying he's also the guy that I think, the one thing that I have praised him for this year is puts himself about and occupies defenders in a way that I don't think Havertz does, right?
I think he's a handful, and I think he is a magnet for defenders, yes.
And if he's a magnet for defenders and we have all of those players on the pitch, surely it frees up the space for them to do damage as well. I'm not saying that I want to play Gyökeres because I think he's going to score the 2 goals even. I'm just saying that I think that given the people around him, I think he can ultimately occupy defenders so that they have more freedom. And if they manage to find him, I back him to put it in the back of the net over Havertz. But again, bro, I'm not sitting here like aggressively disagreeing with you, because if I see Havertz on the team sheet now, I'm just like, all right.
I'm not disagreeing with you either. If I see that 11, but it's Gyökeres instead of Havertz, I'll say fine. Let's see what he's about. Like I don't think you can go Bournemouth 1 week, Havertz. Gyökeres at Bournemouth 1 week, Havertz at City the other, then Gyökeres back again, then Havertz back again. Yeah. I don't think that works. I think a title-winning side has a spine with players that are relentlessly going out time and time again, and they build momentum and they get a feel for it and they get used to the position we're in, and that's what worries me a little bit. All right, well, I think we've discussed the 11s then. What I did want to get your take on was actually Atletico Madrid, because obviously that comes after. I think we could sort of look ahead to this because it's got nothing to do with what happens on the weekend. Obviously, if we end up losing on the weekend, we're not going to feel particularly confident about Atleti. But, I like to reference videos I've made, and I did one a couple months back after we beat Tottenham 4-1 saying we can win the Champions League. For all I've been super critical of our style of football, I think it really gives us a chance, because I think when you control so many of the controllables in a game of football, you reduce the randomness that can happen in a 90 minutes. What double the time on a pitch also does, it gives more time for individual quality to come through. I don't know if Atleti have much more individual quality than we do. I know they've got Julian Alvarez, I get that. But I think when you look at us from a set-piece perspective, when you look at Trossard and Eze producing moments, Saka if he's back, I don't know, I'd argue we have as much firepower, even though they've got Griezmann and Alvarez, who are quite clearly the better front two would start for us. I think, my question is, how are you feeling about that game? Are you optimistic? Do you think we'll go through?
I was so much more excited about where we were in the Champions League when I felt strongly that we were going to win the Premier League. Like now that we're where we are in the Premier League, my attention has immediately solely been occupied by, we have to get the Premier League over the line. All I'm thinking about is Newcastle. All I'm thinking about is Fulham. I'm not thinking about goal difference. I'm thinking about win, right? So that ultimately, it's sad to say, and I really hope the players don't feel this way, because it's absolutely the wrong attitude, by the way. Like, I'm not condoning the way that I feel. I'm just being honest about the way that I feel. it's kind of zapped the energy out of the Champions League, and it's demoralised me. Not that I didn't think we were going to win the Champions League anyway. I've had Bayern as favourites for a while now, I think, since the group stages. That being said, there is a school of thought to suggest, well, if you go through, maybe it gives you momentum in the Premier League too. Maybe it gives you that sense of belief that, no, actually, we're on our way to a Champions League final. We're going to absolutely push home in the Premier League. That being said, you've also got how many times have Arsenal fans put all of their eggs in one basket and ended up with like fuck all? Like, you can't do that either, right? So you do need to take this really, really seriously. And I'm sure, mate, like after Newcastle's done, hopefully we get the result that we want. I will suddenly be getting gassed about that European night. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. I get you.
It's interesting what you said about the 11 and momentum, to be honest, because everything that you were saying about, I don't think you can rotate a striker that way. Are you suggesting that if it's Havertz or if it's Gyökeres, you want to stick with them just throughout the league, or do you want to see them in the Champions League as well, for example? Are you suggesting that if we have that 11 fit, that 11 now plays to the end of the season and everyone else is a benchman?
I don't know anymore.
It's difficult, isn't it? I know it's difficult.
I don't know, Sheroy. I don't know.
Because on one hand, we're sitting here saying that players are gassed out all the time, but we're also saying you can't chop and change now. It's the business end. You've just got to see it through to the end of the season. We're sitting there saying we have a big squad. We didn't use it, but we're also saying, no, this is our best 11. We have to only use this 11. There comes a point where something's got to give.
Gyökeres was brilliant in our 4-0 win against Atleti. Why not stick with that? He also looks quite made for the Champions League. Don't think he scored many goals in it, but I feel like Arsenal played quite well with him leading the line in the Champions League. Sure, I'll be sorry. I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
Do you know? Actually, let me just come really clean on something. When I'm making my videos and stuff, I never ever give an opinion I don't believe. A lot of people recently have been kind of, because I've been more critical of Arsenal and Arteta, I'm getting a lot of the, oh, it gets you clicks, being negative. You think, no disrespect to any YouTuber, because I actually think everyone in this space is real. I've never worked with anyone that I don't think says what they think. But do you think if Arsenal lose or don't do well, that I'm the first channel they click on, like for like a reaction or a crash out? I'm not. So miss me with that, does things for clicks or views or whatever. But I am so conflicted all the time about how I feel. I feel like our brand of football is terrible and it's not sustainable, but I simultaneously think it's got us to where we are. I think Arteta's made a load of mistakes and I don't really connect with his message, but he is the absolute reason we're in this position. I feel like the forwards aren't good enough to win the title, but I also think he's not getting enough out of the forwards. I think they're better than we've seen. Like, I think all these things at the same time. I really do. So you asked about 11s. It's a bloody good question. Kai Havertz himself is a contradiction. We absolutely played better at Man City because he led the line. He helped. Yes, 100%. Tick. Sure, agreed. He missed 3. And it's not 2. People keep saying 2. It's 3. He missed 3 massive chances in that game. Like, Gyökeres, I mean this with all the love in the world, because I've got so much respect for his career and what he's done and how he's got here. And I think there's real qualities we don't maximize. He's an ugly footballer to watch. Like, he doesn't move smoothly. He doesn't drop the shoulder, beat a few men or do something. He's not, we've grown up on great strikers. I haven't even seen us win a title, and I've grown up on great strikers. He's absolutely not one of them. But he's a cold-blooded finisher, and the team could do with a bit of that.
Yes.
Sure, Zubimendi and Rice are shattered, but I also simultaneously think we need momentum in the guys who have got to a level to try and rediscover that level. I'm totally confused. I'm totally lost. And, I make these videos because of what I genuinely believe, but I make it knowing I might see something on the weekend. Like he might return to Eze in the 10, Gyökeres up top, and Trossard on the left. And I'll look at the 11. I go, why have you done that? Oh, I know why. Because that was the 11. That was the setup when we went on this great run. And then we might win 2-3-0. And then I'll make a video on Monday going, I see what Arteta did there. He went back to what worked, and this was why it worked. That's not me. I'm not trying to blow with the wind. I'm not trying to do what gets me views or whatever. I'm reacting to a team that I think are so confusing. And I feel like even in game week 35 or 4, whatever is we're entering, I'm still learning. I shouldn't be learning. And what Jack said was spot on. Look, some people might not be happy in the comments with a lot of what Jack said. You know, he went in quite hard on Arteta at the end there, and that's fine. I mean, I laughed because, I know him. He's a friend of mine. I know his kind of character. But he said something that I thought was so spot on. Like, we messed around while Guardiola was pissing around trying to find out his 11, and now he's found it. And last week we broke down exactly how and why he's found it, why it works. And here we are still scrambling. Well, it could be this guy, but this guy with this guy, and it's a bit of a mess. We've got 10 minutes left. I want to end on some positives, but I have to go off on that little tangent, Sheroy. I'm so confused. I really am.
Yeah, and throughout all of that analysis, there was a lot of talk about the manager selection and all of those sorts of things, right? And throughout the week, I understand, and throughout the season, there's always been talk about the manager. And over the last few years, there has been talk about the manager. But I think all of what you're saying now, I think all of the confusion that you're describing, I tend to lean slightly more towards looking at the players more than most people do. I know the buck stops with the manager. I get that. It's top down. I get that he chooses which players to buy. I get that he chooses where they play. I get that he chooses the tactics. I understand that. But there are far too many games that I've seen this season where Noni Madueke, for example, who came in and said that ultimately he wasn't listening to the noise and wanted to prove the doubters wrong, has, as we've discussed, sort of run the ball out of play. There are far too many games where Martinelli has run into traffic and not really done what ultimately we know he has been able to do. There are far too many games where Kai Havertz, for example, hasn't taken the chance. There are far too many games where Odegaard has overhit the pass. There are far too many games where I think Zubimendi has been anonymous. There are far too many games where David Raya has actually, at the outset of the game, made a silly mistake that has changed the mood in the stadium. There are far too many games where Ben White, when he steps in at right back, has been responsible for goals. Now, all of that, again, people might say the buck stops with the manager for all of that because he's getting the psychology wrong. Fine, but I do think the players, these guys that are grown men now, I don't talk about a lot of these guys as boys the same way that I did when I first started doing YouTube stuff with you, because they're not anymore. They need to take ownership of the situation in game, and they need to take ownership of the season. And I think that even if they hit a 7.5 out of 10, I'm not asking for a 9 out of 10. I think even if they hit a 7.5 out of 10, we're in very, very good nick to win the vast majority of the games, if not all of the games that remain in the Premier League. We've just seen too many 5s and 6s from them, sometimes 4s, 3s and 2s. And that's what's inexplicable for me. And that's what's so disappointing. And we all know that on a certain occasion, they can turn up. And I think the vast majority of them actually did against City because they knew what was on the line. It still didn't get us over the line in that game because of what I would call, again, certain individuals not hitting that level. But that's really what I want to see, because then it takes the discourse away from the bottlers. It takes the discourse away from the manager. It takes the discourse away from should he stay, should he go, who's on the market. The discourse is then back to the title race. And that's where we want the conversation to go. We don't want the conversation everywhere on every media outlet to be about the manager's future. We want it to be about what Arsenal are doing in this title race. And that's what I need to see. That's what I need to see against Newcastle.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that does lead into some positives, to be fair, which is that you're right. We're not asking Arsenal to go from like a 3 out of 10 to, some might say our performance has dropped to 3. But generally 2026, I'd say we've been like a 4 or 5. We've been average / maybe a bit worse than that. I mean, you don't stay top of the league for that long if you've been a terrible team, right? But we're asking Arsenal not to go from a 3 to a 9. We're asking them to go from like a 5 to a 7. You know, get to that kind of stage of Newcastle on the weekend, nothing pretty, 2-0 winners, out we go. You know, just we got it done. Let's keep it moving. And that is doable. And the reason I feel optimistic for the first time in a good few weeks is because he went Eze Odegaard. It's because in the hardest test, he rolled the dice and had, but for some better finishing, we win that game. I mean,
I don't want to cut, but how often have they been available together this year? Like, I know a lot of people are shitting on him all the time, saying, why hasn't he played them more together? And I'm like, look, he had a couple of opportunities, but he did try it, and then Odegaard had to come off. They haven't been available at the same time. This is one of the first times that he could have.
Okay, fine. I do hear that. I think my issue is less the actual names and more the profiling and use of certain players. So, like, you're spot on. And actually, I made this point in that video that I just did. Timber, Calafiori, Saka, Havertz, Odegaard, Eze, they've not all been available at the same time. And actually, we haven't been able to field what I think Arteta thinks is the best 11. We haven't been able to do it once. City are on a run of doing that right now. So I think that makes a big difference. The other thing for me is it's more, Odegaard's out, we'll put Mourinho in the 10. we'll put Havertz in the 10. And I'm going,
Yes.
you could have played Eze. You could have played Eze in the 10 with Trossard on the left. You still could have had your two creators. You could have even played Waneri, but you decided to loan him. Like, there have been solutions. And that's what's frustrated me. It's essentially, he moved away from the model of sort of almost two floating 10s, one from the left, one central, with more of a direct winger, all helping to supply like an out-and-out 9. And he's been going for other combos that for me haven't really worked. He's gone with quite static fullbacks and not really giving them the license. Well, he does give them license to get forward, just not in the areas I want. Like, I don't want Nkapia and Timber in the half space. So yeah, you raise a good point. I mean, Calafiori's injuries are ridiculous. I mean, he's injured, but you're right. I mean, we could be right now hitting our best 11 at the time of the season we need it the most. So I started with talking about Atletico and we sort of moved on, but I'm so fickle. Pre-City, I didn't think we were going to beat Atletico. I'm not saying I think we do now, but I'm like way more hopeful because I saw us show personality in that big game. You know, that's the point. Like, we lost again, but we took something from it. That's what good football can do. Can make you go, look, we acknowledge that was a bridge too far and things didn't go our way and the chances were missed. But do that 5 more times. You're going to win 5 games. And that's where I feel quite optimistic. I suddenly think, well, not all hope is lost because it's a shootout. We've got the easier fixtures in terms of position in the league. And I think we can make a Champions League final. And I'm suddenly viewing this. And the reason I think we can do that is not just because of the performance, because of the combinations Arteta went with that feel like they're balanced, that makes sense. And now I'm sort of going, let's go for it. I should be Jack is right. It is a bit of a disgrace that we've even let it become a neck and neck thing. He is right about it. However that might infuriate some people. He's right about that. But I'm suddenly like, okay, well, what's done is done. Bring it now. Let's go. Because I think while we've dropped to this position, we might be about to hit the most momentum we've had all of 2026.
And this goes straight back to what you were saying about the manager's message and synergy and all of those sorts of things, right? Yeah. Whenever he talks about player recruitment, the first thing that he says is, I want to sign the guy that when he makes, if it's a striker and he doesn't score a goal, or if it's a goalkeeper and he makes a mistake, or if it's a defender and he makes a mistake, I want the guy that's going to put that out of his head, start again and come back. If that's your recruitment model and that's the type of person that you've brought in, then you should actually all be perfectly fine in this situation. You should all be able to wipe the slate clean and go, look, you know what? We fucked up here. Now it's time for us to fix it and go.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, let's get some predictions. I think we'll beat Newcastle 3-0 because I'm a deluded idiot.
Yeah, you're a madman. You're a madman.
Yeah.
When was the last time we scored 3? Do you remember? It was probably Tottenham.
I think it was 4 at Tottenham and Sunderland at home, which was about February time.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I had the privilege of doing the guest prediction on Loose Cannons, which is why I was going like this when Jack was saying that Eze was going to get in the half space. I went Eze star man there, and I went 2-1 Arsenal. We're not keeping clean sheets as regularly as I'd like, but I say 2-1, thinking that we probably go 2-0 up and then we can see the sloppy one.
Okay, I think we'll draw 1-1 in Madrid, but obviously I might change my mind after Newcastle. But yeah.
Agreed.
I think we'll take it back to the Emirates with like a win and you're through kind of.
And it goes back to your point about understanding the assignment. We discussed it last week. For me, that is the assignment that we're built for, right? That's why I'm actually very confident, a lot more confident than people think I should be with us going away to Atletico. I think that's the sort of assignment we're built for.
So fair. Oh, Sheroy.
Can I just give a little shout out to the comment section?
Please do.
Week, if you don't mind, yeah, because where is it? I need to find it. Hold on. I should really have saved this, shouldn't I? But it's not here now. But anyway, there's someone that says, look, I'm a female watching this podcast.
I love that comment.
And I really love the fact that you guys are respectful and listening to each other's points of views and not interrupting each other. The comments, big up to whoever dropped that comment, by the way, but the comments underneath it were like, yeah, I'm a dolphin. And I completely agree. We've got a furry here, completely agree too. And there were about 20 of them, bro. There were about 20 of them. The comments are undefeated. So love for all the comments on that pod. And thank you for what was, I think, one of our better pods in terms of the numbers this year, bro. So big up the Goonerverse community once again.
I was really happy with that podcast. I felt we covered things well, if I say so myself.
Yeah.
But I was so happy with that comment. It was it meant a lot to me, actually. I was like, I'm really glad. Like, I want people to watch this and get the right tone from it. We were chatting off air, and this is quite important to me. We live in this kind of social media world where, like, so I was on James Alcott's channel, and quite a few clips have done the rounds. Some people agree with me on things, but some are like attacking my opinion, almost as if I've been quite vile about the manager or the players or the team or whatever. And people miss kind of tone and delivery with the opinion. I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but almost basically, if you say something negative, you must have also said it negatively, if that makes any sense. And what I love about the community here, and thank you to everyone in the comments, and what I loved about that comment was like, it was like, okay, people do understand that even if we're feeling negative about the team, it comes from a place of, we want them to do better. We love the club. We don't take any pleasure in saying this. It's not for clicks, not for views, nothing like that. It all comes from the right place. And I feel like people understand us here when we're talking about those things. And in this kind of ugly world of social media, you say something that isn't positive, people think, well, that there must be like a vile delivery. You're treated like there's a vile delivery behind it. And I'm like, no, can't you see? Like, I'm just being honest. It's just how I feel, but we can debate it. And yeah, so big thank you for that comment. Just wanted to explain why, that one I appreciated a lot. So thank you.
Yeah. And also, I mean, if people think that people like us drop too many home truths, please don't think that Arteta and the players in the dressing room are saying exactly what they're saying on camera, because they're not. They're probably being a lot more aggressive and a lot more direct than the vast majority of YouTubers are with each other. And I actually want that.
Listen to what you just said. We could kickstart another half hour of this pod, but you're so unbelievably right. You think we're harsh on the team? Like, what is said behind closed doors amongst them all, from Arteta to the players, like they will be setting a standard beyond anything we can possibly comprehend. And so, yeah, you're right on that too. We'll leave it there. I want to say again a big thanks to Jack. His links are in the description below. I thought he was brilliant. And by the way, yes, he was a bit hard on Arsenal at the end there, everyone. He was hard on Newcastle too. Okay, there you go. I thought he was great, and show him some love in the comments. Sheroy, big thanks to you as always. Next time we record, I'll be in Sydney. So your 9:30 p.m, because we've now told everyone when we record, will be my 6:30 a.m. So that should be a bit of fun.
If you want to push it, let me know. I can give you an extra hour's sleep if you need it.
You absolute sweetheart. All right.
You did this on camera deliberately because you knew I'd say that on camera, didn't you? You didn't drop me.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Subscribe to the channel. We'll catch you all in a bit. Bye bye bye.